Look at this painting, a subway scene from 1950, but it could be your commute today. This is George Tucker's The Subway. Figures with blank stares trapped in corridors that twist like a maze. It's not surreal fantasy like Salvador Dali, and it's not the warm glow of Edward Hopper. Tucker painted the dread of ordinary life. Silent, claustrophobic, unavoidable, and here's why I find him fascinating. You've probably heard of Pollock with his chaos, Hopper with his lonely windows, but Tucker, he's almost invisible in popular culture, yet his paintings feel sharper, more modern, as if he saw our anxieties decades before we lived them. So who was this overlooked painter of everyday horror? Next we step into his early life and see how a Harvard graduate ended up painting the quiet terror of modern existence.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
He was supposed to live the American dream. Harvard graduate, steady career, suburban life, but George Tucker walked away. Born in Brooklyn in 1920, Tucker first studied English at Harvard. On paper, his future was safe, predictable, but he turned instead to painting, chasing something riskier. At the Art Students League in New York, he trained under Paul Cadmus. Cadmus was infamous for the Fleet's Inn, a painting of drunken sailors so scandalous the Navy pulled it from display. His style, Renaissance precision, modern taboos. Tucker absorbed that discipline. Egg tempera, fine detail, patience. But while Cadmus exposed society with satire, Tucker would turn it inward into something far more unsettling. And soon those skills would shape the haunting works that defined his career, paintings of alienation that still look uncomfortably familiar today. George Tucker painted isolation like no one else, and once seen, his images never leave you. In Lunch, 1964, rows of office workers hunch over meals, each sealed in silence. In Teller, 1967, identical bank clerks sit listless, isolated behind steel bars. And in The Subway, 1950, commuters wait in a concrete underworld, nervous, afraid, cut off from one another. While critics celebrated Pollock's explosive splashes or Rothko's floating colour fields, Tucker turned in the opposite direction. He studied Renaissance masters like Piero della Francesca. Where others chased style, Tucker sought content, the human condition itself. Even his process defied fashion. The abstract expressionist flung paint in action. Tucker sketched, measured, planned. He ground pigments with egg yolk, painting in tempera, layer upon layer, stroke by stroke. It was painstaking, deliberate, more like Giotto or Botticelli than modern New York. Tucker's paintings present not just the body, but the soul. That's why they still haunt us, long after we've looked away. After years of painting, silence and dread, George Tucker turned toward faith, and his art changed completely. In the 1960s, Tucker converted to Catholicism, while Andy Warhol was turning soup cans and celebrities into icons of pop culture. Tucker searched for ritual, compassion, and light. He and his partner William Christopher settled in Vermont, joining a small Catholic parish. Tucker kept painting in egg tempera, but now every layer felt like prayer. Then, in 1977, disaster struck. His local church in Windsor, Vermont, burned to the ground. The pastor asked Tucker to donate a work to raffle off for repairs. Tucker refused, but he didn't walk away. Instead, when the church was rebuilt, he created something lasting. The Seven Sacraments, a full altarpiece painted for the new sanctuary. Tucker didn't erase darkness, he reframed it. His canvases, once prisons, now carried the possibility of grace. Next, why critics overlooked him, and why his legacy matters more than ever. George Tucker painted alienation with such clarity, and yet, for decades, the art world barely noticed him. While critics celebrated Andy Warhol's pop icons or Rothko's glowing colour fields, Tucker's quiet, meticulous egg tempera seemed out of step. For years he worked in the margins. Recognition came slowly. In 1985, the Whitney Museum gave him a retrospective, and in 2007, at 87, he stood at the White House as President George W. Bush placed the National Medal of Arts around his neck. Tooker, as always, seemed almost unaware of the spotlight. By then, his paintings. The subway, waiting room, government bureau had become haunting mirrors of modern life. And today, in our world of cubicles, waiting lists, and crowded commutes, they feel more relevant than ever. Tooker didn't just paint people, he painted the condition of being human. That's why his work endures, and why, once seen, it stays with you.